Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C#. In this video, I'm going to talk about GoDot and how you can get started using C# and Visual Studio. Starting from the version 4, GoDot comes with first-class support for C#. And that's why I want to show you how you can easily get started using this game engine. Let me give you a very quick introduction of GoDot. So GoDot is completely free. It's open source, and you can build any 2D or 3D games in a cross-platform way. You can target desktop, web, mobile, or if you want, even console. Okay? So there is complete freedom in using the framework, also building on top of the framework itself. You can target .NET 6 or later version of .NET and use all the latest of C# features that you want. So it's actually quite amazing. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing to do is just click download the latest, and then you can choose between the classic GoDot engine or the .NET engine optimized for .NET. So obviously I go with the .NET version. You basically download a zip file that is fairly small, and then I'm going to extract this zip file, and I'm immediately ready to go. Right? I can remove the zip file now, open this folder, and inside it I have an exe that is GoDot version 4.0.2 and so on, and I can double click on that and run GoDot. So GoDot comes with an editor, as most of the game engines, that allows you to build basically the game world. As soon as you open GoDot, obviously it's detecting that I don't have any projects and I need to create a new project. So let's do that. Click New Project, and let me call it Active C#. And I can browse and specify my code Active C# folder. There we go. Now, you need to specify a renderer. If you want to target only the desktop platform, you can use 4+, or you can target mobile or desktop, or eventually even the web platform. But this is currently a work in progress for C#. Let's go with 4+. And I don't care about Git at the moment. Obviously, you can, if you want, you can commit all the changes to source control. Let me create this project, and let's see how the GoDot editor looks like. As soon as you open it, you see the 3D view, but let's not worry about that and click on 2D, because we are going to focus only on 2D. Okay, so first things I will probably try is click play and see what happens. If I click play, GoDot is telling me that I need a main scene. Okay, so that's fair, but I need to select it, but I don't have one. I need to create a scene. What is a scene? Well, the GoDot games are made of nodes. A scene is just a collection of nodes, and each node could be, an object, a game object. And a scene usually is like a character, or could be a menu. It's basically a group of nodes that represent something in your game. So at the very least, you need to have a root scene to start with. So let's click on here in the scene section to create a scene, and I'm going to call this game. Oops, game. So now I created a game scene, and I try to click play, and now it's asking me to select which one is the main scene. I haven't saved the scene. So when I save the scene, you need to give you an extension, TSCN, and you click save. Now, when I click play, I can select the scene I want. That is basically the start scene of the game, similar to when you have a Visual Studio project solution and you want to select what is the start project. I click open, and now there we go. I'm running the game. Obviously, at the moment, it's showing just a window with a dark gray background. But I was able to actually build the project and run it. Okay. Let's explore very quickly the editor. Here on the left, you can see all the scenes. On the bottom, you can see the actual file system. I'm going to show you in a moment how a GoDot project looks like. And on the right, when I click on an element on the left, you can see all the properties associated about that element. We're going to go into more details in other videos. Okay, and here in the middle, you have obviously the editor that allows you to add nodes and modify the scenes and stuff like that. Okay, let me open the file system and have a look at how it looks. Opening File Manager, and there we go. So as you can see, there is a project GoDot file. This GoDot file is like the main project where all the settings from the editors are saved. If I double click on that, I can open it in Visual Studio Code. As you can see, I already have like syntax like lighting for this, just because I've installed the GoDot extensions for Visual Studio Code that you can do fairly easily from the extension menu. But I'm not going to go into any details here. I just want to let you know that this is actually the project file. It will contain various information. Also, every scene, as you can see, is saved as a tscn file. I can also open it. And at the moment, it's telling me that there is just a game scene. The type of the scene is a Node2D class. But we can get into the details later. All right. And then obviously, there is a .godot folder that things the editor need in order to do his work. Well, let's go back to the editor. Now, the next steps I want to show you is, okay, but how can I actually do C# here, right? So one of the things you can do for every node, you can attach a script to it. If I do right click, you can do attach script, and I can select C# as a language, and then press create. This will create a game.cs file. And as you can see, you can actually edit the code directly inside the GoDot editor. Let me save that. And here I can do, any normal C#. But unfortunately, I don't have any IntelliSense. It's not that great, the editor here. So obviously, I prefer to use Visual Studio. So let's configure the project to use an external editor for coding that is Visual Studio. What I need to do is to go to the editor settings, down, select editor here, and I actually pick Visual Studio here. And then I can close, save. Now, when I double click on the C# file, or I double click on this script symbol, it should be opening Visual Studio. Let me try. There we go. It's opening my Visual Studio preview. It's automatically creating a solution. And there we go. I'm inside Visual Studio. Let's give it some time. Let me expand the project and build the project. Awesome. As you can see, the packages that are referenced are obviously GoDot Sharp and so on. And if I double click on the project, you can see that this is a project that is targeting the Godot.NET SDK version 4.02. And it's targeting .NET 7. But I can change it to .NET 7. So it's targeting .NET 6. And I can change it to .NET 7 if I want to. So if I go back in the code, here I have all the full power of IntelliSense. So if I do Control Space, you're gonna see actually all the things you would expect inside of Visual Studio, including any API that Godot provides. Okay, and that's what I want to start to do. Let me try to create a simple rectangle and add it to the scene. Here, as you can see, the game class inherited from a Node2D. And there is two methods that you need to know, ready and process. So ready is basically sort of like the initialization. It's called the first time the scene is created. And then process is effectively the game loop that is called multiple times, where you can make all the changes to the object and move the object and stuff like that. Let me try to create a rectangle that is one of the objects that's available in the framework. So I can do var rect, and I create a color rect, basically a rectangle with a color. So this is kind of normal C#. I'm going to set the color to, say, blue. Okay. Then I can set the position to a coordinate, and you specify coordinate using the vector2 class, and you use just pixels as a reference. Let's say 100, 100. So I'm going to position the top left corner of the rectangle at position 100, 100. And also I can use size to position, to say how big I want this rectangle. Let's say 200 and 100, okay? And there we go. Now I created a rectangle. I can do add child to add the rectangle to the scene. As I said, a scene is effectively a collection of nodes represented in a tree. Similar to like normal Windows application, you have like a trees of controls. In a games, you have a trees of nodes, okay? Adding the child is effectively adding the color rect to the scene, right? If I now go back to the editor, I click reload to reload the code and press play, we should be able to see a rectangle on the screen. There we go. I have a blue rectangle, 200 pixel wide and 100 pixel high. And I've created it in code. But I could also use the editor if I wanted to. I could also click on the scene I wanted to, click plus, and I select a rectangle color rect here to create, and then I can actually manipulate this rectangle directly on the editor. So let me change the color here, let's make it yellow, and so on. Now if I click play, I get the rectangle that I created from the editor and also the rectangle I created programmatically, okay? So you can see how easy it is to actually, work with the editor and also make changes programmatically. Let me get back to Visual Studio. You probably noticed that this making changes to the code and moving back to the editor is rather annoying because every time it asks you to reload the things. What if I want to actually run directly from Visual Studio? So if I would like to be able to do play here, or press F5, I would just this to basically run my game. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I need to configure a profile to actually run GoDot. I hope they will improve this experience, but at the moment that's what it is. So you need to go here in the profile and click debug profiles, and let's add a new executable profile. I'm going to call it run with GoDot, okay? And then you need to specify the path to the framework, to the GoDot exe. So let me actually. Then you need to specify the path to be this folder, and let's also add verbose so that you have more information when you build. The working directory is the current one, and you need to enable native code debugging if you also want to debug the code. It is actually something you definitely want. You want to experience the full Visual Studio power when you develop the game. And now that I've done that, when I press if I change this run with Godot profile and I click on it, or I press F5, it should run Godot and the game directly from Visual Studio. Amazing, right? Now, I could also put a breakpoint, run it again, and I will hit the breakpoint, and I can do everything I always do in Visual Studio and C#. So you can inspect the variables and stuff like that. The final things I want to do, just to show you that something is going to move, is actually make, change the position of the rectangle inside the game loop, so that I can maybe move it. Let's do rect. Obviously, I need to first save the rect in a field. So let me do that quickly. There we go. I created a rect field. Now I can do rect.position, and I can update the position. Let me add a new vector, let's say times 10, and see what happened. So every time this method is called, I had 10 pixel and 10 pixels. So it's going to move right and down. All right, let's see what happened. Let's run it. Oh, I still have the debug breakpoint. Let's press continue. Oh, it doesn't seem to move. Or maybe it's moving too fast. This method is called many, many, many times, right? So if I want to move it slower, I should consider the delta. The delta basically says the amount of seconds since the last time the process was called. So if I multiply this by the delta, that unfortunately I need to cast it to a float. So now I'm basically reducing the length of the vector based on the actual delta. So I'm now moving of 10 pixels at a second. So maybe let's make it a bit more faster. Let's say 50 pixels per second. Let's run it and see what happens. Now the rectangle is moving 50 pixels right and 50 pixels down every second. All right, so I think I've shown quite a lot in this video. I'm not going to go into any more details of the code, but you probably realize that with GoDot and Visual Studio integration, you can actually build games very easily with all the experience you're used to as a C# developer, all the latest features of C# and .NET at your disposal, and you can actually build games that you can actually deploy for free because the entire platform, the entire game engine is completely free to use. So it's actually quite an amazing framework. I definitely recommend you to give it a go and play with it. It comes with a lot of objects that you can use. It also comes with a UI system. You can build UIs on top of the game. In fact, the entire GoDot editor is built using the GoDot UI system itself. And so it's quite a powerful game framework and is used by many games. So that's everything I wanted to show you today. Thank you very much for watching.